Alright, hey guys, so the new Spider-Man trailer is out and there's been a lot of talk about the possibility of a Sinister Six. So I want to share to you guys some of my thoughts of what I think would possibly be the ideal version of the Sinister Six and what could possibly be thrown at us. However, I do think that a lot of this speculation may remain as, just a very far-fetched possibility because honestly, there's a lot of things that people have predicted Marvel doing differently, and Marvel has done a lot of things that really don't align with the comics that well. But it's also nice in a sense where you get to have something that is not the same as the comics, so even comic book fans can see something, a little bit different, a little bit more unique. But at the same time, some of the stories just don't really go very well, like especially how they created the Vulture and they made him wear like a mechanical suit to steal from, Tony Stark's ship and whatever. And then they went on to Mysterio, who's using Tony, Stark's tech again. I think that the story needs to be more Spider-Man focused instead of Tony Stark focused. And if that is truly the case in the next film, then I would probably enjoy it a lot more. But other than that, as for the design of the villains themselves, the MCU has done it superbly well. Both the Vulture's design and also Mysterio's design are absolutely awesome. Great actors, Michael Keaton, and also what's his name? Oh man, I forgot his name. Anyway, Mysterio as well, great actor. But the the fact that it's all focused on villains being, having something against Stark, and that's the reason that Spider-Man has to like step in and be the third person to, hold them back. Just it's not something that appeals to me. However, that might just be me, and maybe you guys like that. But for me, I feel that it should really be a Spider-Man focused story, and he deserves these villains to be someone who is up and against him, and they have a reason to actually fight him, and I want the stakes to feel a little higher than just comic relief. Anyway, in the comics, a lot of dark things do happen to Spider-Man. And there are times he's actually killed, his body is taken over, he loses his powers, all kinds of horrible things have been thrown at the webhead, and somehow he manages to always triumph, and that's what really makes us love this character. And he's one of the most beloved Marvel characters, probably the most actually. I think he's even bigger than the Avengers combined. And so, about the Sinister Six. So, there's been a bunch of versions of the Sinister Six, but just to let you guys know, the original ones, at least the ones that are most important, is of course the mastermind behind the Sinister Six, Otto Octavius, followed by the Vulture, followed by Electro, followed by Craven the Hunter, and then there has to be Mysterio and Sandman. I do believe there were additions such as Hobgoblin, Shocker, Macax, and then there's Scorpia, and also someone else who you may know as the Venom. So these additional characters only came in to replace the original Sinister Six. And of course, in the original Sinister Six, they were rather balanced. We had Sandman being the sort of the bruiser character, Mysterio sort of being the, like the mental, threat, I would say, because he has not only illusion magic, but he has also abilities that can actually cause mind control and, mayhem. Because there is a versions of Spider-Man where he has managed to control the entire city, and it didn't affect Spider-Man, but what it did is it blocked off his spider sense. So his spider sense sort of acted as like a barrier to protect him from the mind control, but he couldn't use his spider sense. So that's quite an interesting story as well. And then of course we have one of the biggest threats, Craven the Hunter, who juices himself with his power juice, and he becomes ridiculously strong. And because of his excellent tracking and hunting abilities, he finds Spider-Man sort of like hunting game, and it's pretty scary. And then, of course, we have Electro, who is actually the most powerful of the Sinister Six by sheer power alone. However, he does have some very, like outstanding weaknesses, you can say. Like they really, he can be exploited pretty easily by, using any kinds of batteries that can suck out his electrical power, or EMPs that can temporarily down him, or water that can temporarily affect him, and these sorts of things. But in the if the Electro is smart enough, if the version of Electro is smart enough, he can be actually the biggest threat. And then of course we have the Vulture, who is actually not like probably the weakest character among the Sinister Six. However, he is one of Spider-Man's most original villains. I think he's one of the first villains actually, and he's actually mostly there because he's pretty good and very down to earth in the underground world. He has a lot of links, especially among crime lords, and he just does things a little bit better because he's just like your classic villain who knows his way around town kind of thing. But of course, the end of the day, the you can say the smartest villain among all of them is Otto Octavius, and he is the one of the biggest threats as well. Not by sheer combat power, because in a straight fight he could lose to a lot of other superheroes. But there's versions where Otto Octavius obtains adamantium, claws, and he really becomes ridiculously scary. Can you imagine like Wolverine's metal in Octavius's arms? And he can also find ways to make them non-magnetic, eliminating magnet threats and stuff like that. Because he's just such a genius, he finds ways to, make carbon compounds just work in other ways entirely. But anyway, Otto Octavius also has a lot of versions of himself that makes him even more so of a threat. One of the main ones that I'm hopefully looking forward to is the Superior Spider-Man. So there is a version where Octavius actually takes over Peter's mind. He takes over Spider-Man's mind by body swapping with him. And it is possible that this could be something we might have a chance to see, because we did, of course, see, the Octavius from what do you call this? The original Spider-Man by Sam Raimi sort of reprise his role. However, he may not be around for too long, because I'm not sure how long they'll be able to use CGI to make him look young and then put him out through an entire film. I think it's too much of work to do in films to come. But if they are setting up towards Superior Spider-Man, it is highly possible, because then you will have to use the original actor less. I mean, the original actor is great, don't get me wrong, but you could use him less, and you could use the current Spider-Man, Tom Holland, and his great acting abilities to actually play out as the kid who's under control by Octavius's mind. And it is possible that this could even be a spin-off, like this could be an alternate version, meaning that it could be another reality's Peter that has already been taken over by Doc Ock, or something like that. Or it could even be this version of Peter that is taken over by Doc Ock that has to fight his way out. But yeah, it would be pretty insane if we actually go down this path, because this is really dark, it's really creepy. And if you read the comics, you actually end up liking Otto Octavius as the Superior Spider-Man, because he's actually a more effective Spider-Man. He's smarter, he's more capable, he plans things way, way ahead. He doesn't get caught off guard like the regular Spider-Man, and he doesn't really have a sense of this morale where he has to do things a certain way, or he has to protect certain people to do things a certain way. He's willing to go to extreme measures to fight against his enemies. And him being the superior Spider-Man, he would do anything, and his enemies are really terrified of this fact. So yeah, if you guys haven't read the comics about the Superior Spider-Man, you really should. And he's pretty awesome. He's pretty scary, and he's definitely one of my more favorite Spider-Mans, I dare say. Probably even more favorite than Peter Parker, because Peter Parker's always been sort of a wuss. I mean, no offense. And there are versions of Peter that's really, really awesome. The one that stands his ground sort of Spider-Man. But Superior Spider-Man is just superior. Honestly, he's amazing. He's incredible. And if we do get to see him, I'll be super happy about it. But regardless, excuse me, ridiculous. Regardless, the Vulture is a villain that we've already seen. We know the Doc Ock's coming from the trailer that we saw. Electro is someone that we haven't seen yet. We have seen it in the previous Spider-Man, of course, but in the current version, we only saw Shocker, who may take the place of Electro if Electro's not available. And then, of course, we do know there's possibly a Craven the Hunter, film or something like that coming up. So he could be a character that could be easily added. We have already seen Mysterio, so that's pretty awesome. And we have not seen Sandman, but there has been a Sandman from the previous version, so it's possible that he will come back. It's very likely. Alternatively, Hobgoblin may be the character that replaces one of the original Sinister Six. If you ask me, Hobgoblin could possibly replace Sandman or Craven the Hunter or Electro. It's one of these three things that he could replace. And then Shocker is someone we've already seen. So as I said, Shocker may replace Electro, which means that Craven the Hunter or Sandman are the possible things that could be replaced by the Hobgoblin. And then Macax is not something that you guys may know, but he's actually known as the Beetle, and he uses this sort of laser-like tech. It's pretty like he's pretty powerful and all, and it'll be a really cool thing to see him, especially with the ability of the CGI that the MCU has. They have pretty insane CGI, so they'll be definitely able to pull off Macax. It's just a matter of time before we actually see the Beetle on screen. And then we have Scorpia, or Scorpla, excuse me, who's may not be that famous, but there are other ways of also doing it. They could actually bring back the original Scorpion. That's another thing they could do. But she's like a Scorpion, except she's like the female Scorpion. It's just another way. But it would be nice to have more female cast as well among all these really brutal guys. Like they're all men, quite frankly. I think it's just it's a big of sausage fest there. So yeah, having another female cast, especially as the Scorpion as well, would be pretty awesome. I really would like to see that. And then of course we have Edward Brock, the Venom, who might possibly be a major threat. However, in this film, we we see Flash Thompson. We don't see an Eddie Brock yet. But if they do decide to bring in the what do you call this, Tom Hardy's Venom, the other Eddie Brock from the and they show that the universes are linked. It would be pretty insane how they explain how the Avengers had no idea that these two symbiotes were fighting and destroying an entire place, and it's Shield, and no one basically had any idea. They probably have to explain that somehow. But if it was in an alternate reality and Venom is brought into the current reality, then it is also possible, because Doctor Strange is there, and I'm really happy to finally be able to see Stephen Strange and Spider-Man, together, working together. It really feels like the comics where they get to explain these alternate realities and they go on adventures together and they explore more about how the spider sense works. Because Doctor Strange has always been rather intrigued by Spider-Man's spider sense because he feels that it is an extra dimensional ability. It's not something that's granted to him by the spider, but rather he was chosen by fate itself. And if you guys haven't heard about this particular character, there is a Madam Web in the comics, who actually sort of is like the core of the Spider-Verse. Actually, she's like the one that dictates how these Spider-Man are chosen across different timelines, and there are even versions of her that go around and talk to people like Doctor Strange and stuff. As you can see, she has telepathy, astral projection, clairvoyance, and immortality. So she lives in like an alternate dimension, which selects these sort of spiders that are in the various forms of Earth. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm not sure if you'll actually get to see Madam Web or even a clue about Madam Web, like just them showing the throne and a web left in some dimension that Doctor Strange sweeps past. It would be pretty cool, but I'm pretty sure that people working on the film obviously know about all of these things, probably even more so. But I really would like to see this. It would be pretty awesome because her powers and Doctor Strange powers are pretty similar. I would say it's just that she works in her own reality, whereas Doctor Strange protects the Earth 616 reality. So yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts, and those are the things that I would like to see and hope to see. And yeah, I really can't wait. Sinister Six is something that we have really been waiting for, and I think the best version of the Sinister Six that we saw is actually from the Spider-Man, the PlayStation 4 game, and it looked really awesome. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how they're going to pull it off on screen because they do have the graphics to do it. They do have the actors to do it. They do have the budget and the means. I think this is a great time to be alive. That's for sure. All right, I'll see you guys. Take care.